This is NBC Nightly News, Wednesday, October 17th. Reported by John Chancellor.
Good evening. The Middle East war produced developments all over the world today. The oil-producing countries of the Arab world decided to use their oil as a political weapon.
Even before today's meeting began, there was an announcement in Kuwait that prices for Arab oil were going up. A huge increase voted in an overnight meeting without even consulting Western buyers.
That I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I have concluded that because of the Watergate matter, I might not have the support of the Congress that I would consider necessary.
To give us energy security, I am asking for the most massive peacetime commitment of funds and resources in our nation's history to develop America's own alternative sources of fuel from unconventional gas from the sun. I propose the creation of an energy security corporation to lead this effort to replace 2.5 million barrels of imported oil per day by 1990.
It seems inconceivable that such negotiations could have gone on between the Reagan-Bush campaign and the Iranians without George Bush knowing about it, whether or not he went to Paris. But
in spite of the wildly speculative and false stories about arms for hostages and alleged ransom payments, we did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages, nor will we. A few months ago, I told the American people I did not trade arms for hostages. My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true, but the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
It was election night 2000, and everything seemed to be going as planned.
In New York, Al Gore is our projected winner. The Garden State is green for Gore.
We project that Mr. Gore is the winner in Delaware. This state has voted with the winner in
Excuse me 1 second. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Mike, you know I wouldn't do this if it weren't big. Florida goes for Al Gore.
CNN announces that we call Florida in the Al Gore column.
Then something called the Fox News Channel called the election in favor of the other guy.
Not to interrupt you, Fox News now projects George W. Bush the winner in Florida, and thus it appears the winner of the presidency of the United States.
All of a sudden, the other network said, hey, if Fox said it, it must be true.
All of us at the networks made a mistake and projected Florida in the Al Gore column. It was our mistake.
Now, what most people don't know is that the man who was in charge of the decision desk at Fox that night, the man who called it for Bush, was none other than Bush's first cousin, John Ellis. How does someone like Bush get away with something like this?
And she said, you don't understand, we need to hide the fraud in the source code.
Hide the fraud, not reveal the fraud.
Not reveal the fraud because it's needed to control the vote in South Florida, was what she said.
Whoa. That's what she said.
Susskind obtained this Pentagon document dated March 5, 2001, entitled Foreign Suitors for Iraqi Oil Field Contracts. It includes a map of potential areas for exploration.
It talks about contractors around the world from, 30, 40 countries, and which ones have what intentions or
on oil
in Iraq.
Oh no, they told us. Iraq isn't a war about oil.
That's cynical and simplistic, they said. It's about terror and Al-Qaeda and toppling a dictator and spreading democracy and protecting ourselves from weapons of mass destruction.
But we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
But one by one, these concocted rationales went up in smoke, fire, and ashes. And now, the bottom line turns out to be the bottom line. It is about oil. Alan Greenspan said so last fall. The former chairman of the Federal Reserve, safely out of office, confessed in his memoir, "Everyone knows the Iraq War is largely about oil."
Prime Minister, has oil got anything to do with this conflict?
No, I don't believe for a moment it has.
Despite previously being adamant it wasn't a reason for going to war in Iraq, the federal government now says oil is one of the reasons Australian troops are staying there.
First, it was about weapons of mass destruction. Then it was terrorism. Now, oil has become a reason for the war in Iraq.
Prime Minister, has oil got anything to do with this conflict?
No, I don't believe for a moment it has.
Obviously, the Middle East itself, not only Iraq, but the region is an important supplier of any oil in particular.
Prime Minister, has oil got anything to do with this conflict?
No, I don't believe for a moment it has.
Today, the Prime Minister launched Australia's latest defence update, and securing oil supplies from the trouble region is highlighted as justification for staying the course.
There is one economic measure that troubles some critics who feel that private companies which supply essential goods and services to the military are making a lot of money during this war. The cost for one share of Halliburton stock back then, adjusted for a stock split, was around $10.
But the Iraqis did not step up. Even as Saddam Hussein's sons were killed and he was captured, an insurgency rose, fueled by loyalists and pictures of abused prisoners. By the first anniversary, the president's numbers were tumbling, casualties climbing, and Halliburton's stock was almost $15 a share. In the second full year of war, things improved. Coalition troops hammered insurgents, Iraqis voted freely, the president's numbers leveled off, even as American deaths rose to more than 1,000. Halliburton's stock was still climbing too, almost $22 a share. Year 3, the Iraqi government kept growing. Saddam Hussein went on trial, eventually to be executed. But the battle raged on. Tens of thousands of Iraqis have died, maybe even more.
What continues to crush the president's numbers, however, is this. American deaths, more than 2,000 a year ago, now in excess of 3,000. And Halliburton stock more than $35 a share. The company says it's always supplied just what the military needs, and is proud to do so.
the GOBP is going through as the defender of big oil. It began with an apology. Sorry our beaches got in the way of your oil. Sorry the birds and the turtles and the Louisianans inhaled so much of it. Almost. Texas Congressman Joe Barton, ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, apologized to BP's CEO Tony Hayward for what happened at BP's meeting with the president yesterday, at which BP agreed to create a $20 billion escrow fund for compensating Gulf Coast residents impacted by the disaster.
I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I apologize. But I apologize. But I apologize. But I apologize.